Hello everyone, wishing you all a lucky new day. Do you remember the first time your child learned to walk? A seemingly simple question, but enough to make any parent's heart flutter. For Alex and Tana, that moment was a miracle. After months of waiting, little Henry finally walked on his own. His little legs trembled, his eyes lit up as he approached his parents, and just a second later, happiness seemed to explode. Laughter, mixed with tears, a tight hug between the three of them, all created an unforgettable memory. That moment was not only Henry's first step, but also the turning point of the whole journey of love. Watch this video until the end to fully feel the miracle called family, where every small step contains a sky of happiness. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Early in the morning, when the sky was still covered in mist, Tana gently stepped out into the garden. The cool air gently touched her skin, evoking an indescribable feeling of emptiness. Every morning, before the sun had risen, that was the time when she and Alex would start the day together. He made coffee, she picked vegetables, and then they both laughed and talked amidst the thin mist. Today, there was only the rustling of leaves and a heartbreaking silence. Tana bent down to pick each stalk of mustard green, but her heart was no longer with this garden. Alex's image kept flickering in her memory, his tall, thin figure, his gentle smile, his warm eyes every time he called out to her in a soft voice, "Now, pick some vegetables to cook for breakfast." Now, that voice only echoed in her mind, like an old song lingering around. She looked up at the sky, took a deep breath of the fresh vegetable scent, and told herself, "You'll be back soon, right?" Then she smiled, even though her eyes were stinging. Today, she would still cook his favorite dish of stir-fried cabbage and eggs, not just for breakfast, but to preserve a little taste of the days with him by her side. In the morning, scent, Tana's longing was as light as mist, yet so deep. In a place dozens of kilometers away from the farm, Alex was busy in the middle of a large warehouse, where the scent of ripe fruit spread throughout the space. He stood in the middle of a grapefruit garden, carefully checking each shipment, his eyes focused, but deep inside there was a lingering longing. Today was the last day he needed to accept before returning to Tana, the girl waiting for him in the peaceful little garden. Every time he signed the inspection paper, Alex glanced at his watch. Each minute seemed to slow down. He imagined Tana bending down to pick vegetables in the early morning light, the wind gently blowing her soft hair. That image was the motivation that made him try hard during the days away from home. When the last shipment was sealed, Alex smiled lightly. Sweat was still on his forehead, but his heart was beating faster than ever. He knew that in just a few hours, the road back to the farm, to Tana's arms, would no longer be a dream, but a real moment of happiness. After more than an hour of driving through the winding roads, Alex finally saw the familiar wooden gate of the farm appear in his sight. His heart was beating fast. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, not because of fatigue, but because of the rising emotion. The smell of soil, the smell of grass, the familiar wind blowing through the glass door, all, like an old song, brought him back to the most peaceful place in his life. Tana was washing vegetables on the porch at that time. Hearing the sound of the car engine, she stopped, her eyes wide open. Just a few seconds later, she quickly put down the basket of vegetables, ran to the gate, the door opened, and in the middle of the sunny yard, they saw each other. Their eyes filled with longing. No one said anything right away, only the sound of wind and heartbeat. Then Tana rushed forward, hugging Alex. Alex hugged her tightly, took a deep breath, as if wanting to capture the scent of her hair, the smell of the sun, and the warmth of the person he loved. "I miss you so much, Tana." His voice was hoarse. She laughed, but tears kept falling. "Me too, every morning, just waiting to hear your call." They sat in the yard, talking about the days apart. Alex told stories about the busy shipments, and Tana told stories about the garden, about the newly picked vegetables. Each story was filled with love, as if they were afraid of missing every moment together. The sun gradually rose, casting a warm golden light over both of them, an emotional reunion morning, where longing turned into true happiness. When the sunlight had filtered through the wooden window, Alex looked at Tana with a gentle yet determined gaze. He held her hand, his voice warm but full of emotion. "Tuna, I want to take you home, to meet my mother, and ask for permission to get married. I don't want to be just someone who goes and then comes back forever like that." Tuna was silent, her hands trembled slightly, her eyes looking out at the sunlit garden. She loved Alex, that had never changed, but a vague worry arose in her heart. She replied softly, her voice choked. "I'm not ready, Alex. Maybe I am still afraid of change, afraid of stepping into something too big." Alex gently squeezed her hand tighter. His eyes filled with love but also full of anxiety. "I understand, but I will wait, however long it takes." At that moment, the air suddenly became quiet, only the sound of the wind blowing through the vegetable garden, carrying with it many unspoken words. A silent promise was made between two unfinished but sincere hearts. When the space between them was still quiet, with only the wind gently swaying through the leaves, a tiny sound came from inside the house, little Henry's familiar babbling laughter. Alex and Tuna both turned around and saw the child crawling to the threshold, his round eyes sparkling in the sunlight. Henry raised his head, looked at his parents, and smiled, his tiny mouth opening as if he wanted to say something. Tuna jumped up, intending to run to pick up the child, but Alex gently held her hand, whispering, "Wait, let me try." Both of them watched silently, holding their breaths as if afraid of breaking this fragile moment. Henry held on to the edge of the door, his tiny legs trembling, then slowly stood up. 1 second, 2 seconds, and then a miracle happened. Henry stood up, his little legs wobbled, his body swayed, but his eyes were filled with determination. Step by step, the child moved forward to where the mother's bright eyes and the father's open arms were. Without anyone saying a word, Tana held out both hands, tears rolling down her cheeks, laughing and crying at the same time. Alex stood beside her, his heart bursting. All the months of separation and fatigue suddenly disappeared. In that moment, time seemed to stop. All the noises quieted down, leaving only Henry's laughter, Tana's heavy breathing, and Alex's pounding heart in his chest. One small step, but enough to change their world forever. Alex bent down, opened his arms to hug the child, then looked at Tana. Their eyes met, without needing to speak. They understood. This was the answer to all the worries and fears before. It wasn't about timing, it wasn't about being ready or not. It was love, it was family. It was what made people stronger to move forward together. Tuna gently touched her son's cheek and whispered, "Henry, you've taught me to be braver." Alex placed his hand on her shoulder and smiled. "And your mother is ready to go with me, right?" She looked at him, not answering, just nodding her head in tears of happiness. Henry chuckled again, opening his arms to hug his mother's neck. The morning sunlight poured through the window, spreading a sweet yellow color over the three people, like a blessing from heaven and earth for that small family.
Alo. Ủa? Miệng ngậm ăn tiền. Buồn là chuyện đam mê. Cấp trên. Wow.